This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sophia Yvette.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Are you in need of a realtor? Well, one may be closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Scott Sammons with Scott Sammons Real Estate. Scott, it's great to be with you today. Now, we are excited to learn more about you and your business. So go ahead and tell us just a little bit more about your company.
Thanks, Sophia. It's great to be with you today, and it's an honor to be on your podcast. So thanks for having me. So I'm just a small real estate brokerage. Some people call me a boutique real estate brokerage firm, but I basically help people buy and sell properties in Tarrant, Parker, Johnson, and Hood counties. And as being a broker, I also wear many hats within that job description when it comes to selling homes and buying homes, which often includes counselor, advisor, consultant, landlord, and prayer partner.
I love that. Now, you must have a passion for this industry. So where was that born?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story. I'll try to keep this brief, but in 1994, I graduated from high school and was just working in a job selling chocolates to Hallmark stores across America. So I sat in a cubicle, and it was not my most exciting or fun season in life, and kind of felt like it was a dead end. I really felt compelled to want to do something that could help others and had a better trajectory. And so my dad had been in commercial real estate, and so I called him up one day. I was 21 years old when I did this. Called him up and said, "Dad, I need a job. Would you please just hire me?" And I have a very wise father, and he said, "No, I'm not going to hire you. I don't have a job for you." And so but in exchange, he made me an offer, and he said, "I'll send you to real estate school. If you want to go to real estate school and get your license, I'd be happy to be your mentor, your guide, counselor, if you chose to, go into that." And so I did. I went to real estate school here locally in Fort Worth. It was I think it was probably 12 weeks of schooling. And while I was in that school, they encouraged us to pick an area of Fort Worth and make it what they called our farm area, learn about every house in the area that was bought and sold, how much it sold for, how long did it sit on the market, just all that data. And so I did that. And while I was doing it, I came across a bunch of houses that were dilapidated and vacant and torn down. And so when I graduated from the real estate school, got my real estate license, I was super young, 21, but I looked like I was probably 15 or 16. And so I wanted to find something else to do. So I went to my dad with an idea, and I said, "Dad, in my research in this one area, I found a church that just bought two houses. They're going to tear them down and make a parking lot." But I called the pastor, and he said, "Hey, if you want to move those houses, that is possible, and you can move them and we'll give them to you for free, but you got to clear the lot." So the church ends up ahead. So anyway, I went to my dad with this plan I concocted. And so my dad said, "I tell you what, I'll put the money in." I needed about $15,000 at that time to move the house, buy a lot. And then he said, "I'll put the money in if you put all the sweat equity in. So you work and you fix them up." And so I did. And that was kind of my college education, I call it. For a year, I spent remodeling the first house. And our agreement was that we would split the profit. So the day it sold, so excited, 21-year-old kid, took the check for my dad's half up to his office, said, "Dad, it happened. I did it. Thank you so much for your help. Here's the check." And I'll never forget it. My dad picked up the check, looked across his desk at me and said, "Son, I'm proud of you. I don't want any money from this deal." And he tore up the check right in front of my eyes. And he said, "I want you to keep all the money, and you go and you take that and you go do that next house." And so I did, and that lit a fire under me, and I got so excited, and that really set the trajectory for the rest of my business in real estate. So I've done a lot of flipping of houses. I did that professionally from about 2007 until about 2020, when the market kind of changed. But all during that time, also was a licensed real estate agent and helping people, buy and sell houses. So that's where it all started for me.
Very encouraging story. And you did mention your faith. So how does that play a role in how you work with your clients today?
Yeah. So even when I first started, selling those chocolates and didn't know what to do, I really, there was a season in my life where I really got on my knees and I just cried out to God in prayer and said, I need an answer. And as I look back over the trajectory of my career, I just see how God has opened doors for me that I could not have opened myself and could not have even figured out in my own wisdom. And so now, when I'm helping people buy and sell houses, there's unique situations where I don't have the answer, or we're trying to sell a house and it's not selling, and I can't figure out why. Um, and a lot of times prayer does play a big role in just being able to have the wisdom and success in this business. There's a verse that I love in Psalm 37 that says, commit your way to the Lord, and he will establish your thoughts. And so that's kind of where I have centered my business, is just I try to commit everything I do to God, and then and wait on him too for, yeah, wisdom and guidance.
I love that. Now, we're going to go ahead and switch gears here for a second. We know that marketing is the heart of every business. So, who ideally are some of these families or individuals you're looking to help, and how are you reaching them?
Yeah. So one of the ways is through just networking and relationships. I historically had never advertised for real estate. Everything that I had done as a broker has been completely word of mouth. And so I love people. I love doing things with people, and I love helping others accomplish things that maybe I have a tool in my toolbox to be able to do. And so I love unique situations where there's a unique challenge, or somebody's got to buy a house, but they've got to sell their house first, and we got to work a deal where their closings interact. Sometimes the closings happen on the same day. They're either selling and buying, and that's got to happen the same day. Um, but historically, it's all been word of mouth. And so I try to have a good name. There's another proverb that I love that says, a good name is rather be chosen than great riches. And I've built my business on that as well. And so I do some marketing through social media. I've got a Facebook page. And then I also do quite a bit of like photography and videography when I get an individual listing. But my ideal client is just the family or the couple or even the single that is either looking to buy their first home or have a house that they're wanting to sell and upgrade.
Well, Scott, with all the knowledge you have you ever thought about having your own podcast for the business before?
I have not, but it might not be a bad idea. Social media is something that I'm just realizing it is the way that we connect with others, and it is a way that we are able to see what other people are doing. And so I love the idea of the podcast because it kind of does give the world a view into your life. And like what you're doing, you're interviewing people that maybe I wouldn't have ever come across, but by watching your podcast, I can see, oh, there's a business over here that's doing something that's a fit for me. And then it puts a name with a face. So I do love that. And maybe I need to consider that.
Well, thank you. And we try to help where we can across the board. Now, outside of work, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was a bachelor for 51 years, and I met my love of my life a year and a half ago. We got married, and my wife is from South Dakota, but spent about 15 years in Colorado. So I just love spending time with my wife. We've been married for a year and a half now, and so we love to go on dates. We both love to hike and walk. But I love showing my wife Kelsey Texas. So we've done a lot of just touring around Texas, but also within the Metroplex. And we spend as much time as we can together. We both were not married prior to, and so we're like, we got to make up for lost time. So we really enjoy spending time together.
Congratulations. That is a big accomplishment. Now, final
Thanks.
question. We've covered some great information today, but what is the number one takeaway you would like our listeners to gather from learning about Scott Sammons real estate, and where is the best place for them to find you?
Thanks. I appreciate that. I hope that what people would take from this is just who I am as a person, that they would sense or feel something within me. I think the one thing about the real estate business that I wish people valued more is good communication. Good communication can make a real estate deal feel very normal and kind of status quo because everything's going as expected. But often in real estate, it takes a lot of experience and negotiation to achieve that end result that a client desires or expects. And so I hope that people would see that that's what they would get with me. I strive to be a good communicator and keep everything out in the open and well communicated throughout that process. And then, yeah, thanks for asking. I've got a website. It's www.scottsammonsrealestate.com. We're also doing some tweaks and kind of starting to revamp that. So if people can't find me there on Facebook, I've got a business page, also Scott Sammons Real Estate. And then I'm happy to give you my cell phone number too. That's 817-269-5084.
Well, Scott, I really appreciate you being on the show today. We wish you and your business the best moving forward.
Thanks so much, Sophia. It was great being with you today.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpfrisco.com. That's gnpfrisco.com or call 469-221-9345.